Day one, or embarkation day of a cruise, is arguably one of the most important elements of the whole cruise experience. There are some things that, if you get them right on day one, then that will stand you in pretty good stead for the rest of your cruise. But unfortunately, there are also some things that if you get them wrong, or if you make the mistakes on embarkation day, that's going to have a knock-on impact on the rest of your time on board. In this video today, I'm going to share with you 15 things that you really need to plan to do as part of your embarkation day or day one of your cruise. Hopefully, following these tips will make the cruise experience so much more straightforward and hopefully so much more enjoyable for you. If you do enjoy this video today and if you find it useful, then it would be great if you would consider supporting my channel by clicking both the thumbs up and the subscribe buttons. But let's get started with the first of 15 things that you should plan to do on embarkation day, and that is arrive at the cruise terminal at your designated time slot. During the check-in process for any cruise, you'll be allocated a time during which you should plan to arrive at the cruise terminal. If everybody on board the cruise ship arrives at the correct time that they're told to arrive at, then the whole process of embarkation should be fairly straightforward. However, unfortunately, I've seen it in the past where some people arrive multiple hours ahead of schedule, therefore resulting in massive lines or queues all the way out the front of the terminal and beyond. I have seen some cruise ports that require you to arrive at your set time. Otherwise, they will make you wait outside until your time slot is there. Now, that's okay if you've got shade, if you've got water, if you've got snacks. However, I have seen it in the past over in Florida where people will be outside in the baking sunshine for hours, waiting for their time slot so that they can board the ship. I don't know about you, but I would much rather be relaxing by the swimming pool at my hotel rather than standing there, holding all of my bags, waiting for hours to pass to get on a cruise ship. So number one, make life really simple for yourself. Arrive at the terminal at the correct time. Number two, as soon as you get on board your cruise ship, think about the muster drill and plan to tick that off and get it done as soon as you can. Now, if you've never taken a cruise before, you might be wondering what a muster drill is. This is a legal requirement that's required of all cruise ships before they leave port. They're required to explain what happens in the event of an emergency, similar to what you would see on an aircraft when they demonstrate where the exits are, where your life jackets are, so on and so forth. On most cruise ships, you'll have to take what's known as your cruise card, also known as your room key, to a muster station to have that card scanned to tell the cruise line that you know where to go in the event of an emergency. It is important to note that the muster drill process does vary by cruise line. I've seen some cruise lines where all you have to do is go to the muster station as soon as you get on the ship, and then later in the day, listen to usually the captain's announcement before the ship sails out of port. But with some cruise lines, like Virgin Voyages, for example, you're required to watch a safety briefing in your cabin, you're then required to listen to the drill, and you're then required to go to your muster station. So as soon as you get on board the ship, find out what the muster station requirements are, or the muster drill requirements are, and find out how you can tick that off, because the sooner that's done, the sooner you can enjoy your vacation. Number three, if your cabin or stateroom is available when you get on board, head up there, find it, and settle in. This one is so important to me because I often find, although I've done so many of them, I find the whole process of embarking a cruise ship really quite stressful, and at times it can be quite overwhelming, especially if you're dealing with long lines, if things are going wrong with people around you, or maybe even with your own paperwork. So by the time I get on board, I always just want to sit down and reset for a period of time before I then head back out around the ship. I find that my cabin or stateroom is often the best place to do this. I usually will spend 15 or 20 minutes just relaxing in my cabin or stateroom before I then get back up to go and explore the rest of the ship. That leads us quite nicely on to the next point. The fourth thing that you should really think about doing on day one of your cruise is once you're in your cabin, you've reset, go around the room and log any things that you require with your cabin attendant. You'll usually find cabin attendants are very, very visible on day one of the cruise. And in fact, with many cruise lines, they'll come and knock on your cabin door in order to introduce themselves, tell you what the housekeeping service looks like on board, and they'll also ask you if you've got any special requests. Now, the kind of thing that I'm suggesting you log here would be, for example, if you go into your cabin and there are light bulbs that are broken, great, log them. If you go in and there's any housekeeping issues, then perfect, log them now. If you go into your cabin and think, I'd like a different set of pillows, for example, then you can also let your cabin attendant know and they can aim to satisfy that request. If you don't do that at this point of the cruise, then you're going to find yourself waking up on day two and suddenly time will run away from you. You might repeatedly forget to log these requests, and that's going to be really annoying 4 or 5 days in when you realise that you keep forgetting to mention that really annoying light bulb that's out beside the bed. Number 5, you've settled into the cabin, you've logged anything you need with your cabin attendant. It's now time to leave the room and get your holiday or your vacation started. The fifth thing that you should think about doing on day one is when you leave your cabin, try and take note of anything that is prominent on your journey to wherever you're going to help you get your bearings when you're coming back to the room later. If you're cruising on a small ship, that's probably not that important, but if you're cruising on a huge mega ship, believe me, you're going to thank yourself later when you remember that the staircase that you take that's closest to your room is blue, as one example. There are so many different things you could think about. You might want to go to one of the public decks and highlight what venue you have to go to then go upstairs to be close to your cabin. There are so many different things and it's a very personal thing. So many things that you could highlight. So yes, try and get a couple of noticeable things on your journey to wherever you're going, because chances are you're probably going to the bar to get your first drink, and that's when it's going to get a lot more difficult to find your cabin. Number 6, go and enjoy your first meal on board. This one is really important because you've probably had quite a long travel day getting to the ship, you've gone through the embarkation process, you're probably going to be quite hungry. Now, although this tip is saying yes, go and have your first meal, there are a few things that you should think about here because the majority of people on board will go to enjoy their first meal at the onboard buffet. That will mean that that venue will probably be very, very busy. So many people do this because they're maybe not aware of what else is on offer around the ship. You'll find that with the majority of cruise ships out there, the buffet will be open on embarkation day, but the main dining room will also offer an embarkation day lunch offering. You'll also find a number of informal eateries, for example, a poolside burger bar or maybe a pizzeria, also offering you food on embarkation day in an attempt to try and alleviate some of the stress from the onboard buffet. Most of the cruise ships that I've travelled on don't offer room service on embarkation day for the simple reason that there's a lot going on in the corridors. Suitcases are being delivered, cabin attendants are introducing themselves, people are figuring out where their cabins are, so the last thing that the room service team want to do is get in the way of all that. So yes, head out, enjoy your first meal of the cruise, and also just figure out where's open so that you don't end up walking into an absolutely crowded buffet. On the subject of food, the next thing that you should think about doing on embarkation day so that you don't miss out is booking any speciality dining restaurants as soon as possible after you get onto the ship. If there are restaurants on board that come with an additional charge, then you'll usually be required to make advanced bookings for them. Some cruise lines make it really easy to do this. I recently took a cruise with Norwegian Cruise Line, and on day one, I was really impressed to see a venue on the ship that was dedicated to speciality restaurant reservations. That meant that you just went to that venue and there were an army of crew there, to be honest, who could help you to make whatever bookings you wanted on whatever nights of the cruise you wanted to make them. It's not as easy as that with every cruise line. For some, you might have to speak with guest services. For others, you might be able to do bookings via the mobile app or via digital screens all around the ship. But definitely make sure that on day one of the cruise, if there's a speciality dining venue that you want to try and book it as soon as possible, because I can guarantee you there will be hundreds, if not thousands of other people also planning to do this as soon as they get on board. Speaking of booking things, it makes perfect sense to now move on to talk about shore excursions. If you are planning to book shore excursions when you get onto your cruise, before you reach a port of call, I would really recommend trying to do that ideally no later than day one of the cruise. You'll find that everybody on board will be thinking about what to do when the ship reaches the next port of call or one of the future ports of call, and that will put a lot more stress on facilities like the shore excursions desk on the cruise ship. It's so important that if you want to see a particular thing or go on a particular excursion on the cruise, you should always try and book that, ideally before you even get onto the ship. But worst case scenario, book it as soon as you get on board. There are a number of cruise lines that will offer you special discounts on excursions if you book more than 3 days in advance of the cruise. To find out if your cruise line is one of them, then just log into your online account and try to book an excursion. You'll see on there the discount will be applied. Number 9, check if you need to book any of the evening entertainment on your cruise and get that done as soon as you can after boarding the ship. Lots of people assume that you only have to book shows that you pay extra money for, but in my experience, that's just simply not the case. I've been on cruises with cruise lines like Royal Caribbean, MSC, or P&O Cruises, and with all of them, on their larger cruise ships, you're going to have to make reservations for shows as early as possible during the cruise. Otherwise, they will fill up, and that means that you risk not getting to see the show. Now, don't worry, if you have got onto your cruise ship and you think, oh dear, the shows have already sold out, they've already been booked up. The reality is that not every single seat in the theatre is usually reserved. Cruise lines will normally operate with a policy where they'll leave a percentage of seats available for walk-ins. If you do make a reservation for a show, you then need to make sure that you arrive nice and early, because about 10 minutes before showtime on the majority of cruise lines that operate a bookings approach, they'll allow anybody in line to walk in and take any seat. So remember, you don't just have to make your booking, but you also have to turn up early. The process for making an entertainment booking on a cruise ship will differ depending on what ship and which cruise line you're travelling on. Some will have a really handy box office located by the theatre, and with others, you might have to use the mobile app or use digital screens. So as soon as you get on board, or as soon as you can after you get on board, find out if you need to make any entertainment bookings and get them in the diary now. Number 10, the next thing that you should plan to do on embarkation day or day one of your cruise is walk the ship. This one isn't for everyone, but this is one of my all-time favourite things to do, especially if I've never sailed on a particular cruise ship before. I love to check into my cabin, go for lunch, sort out any bookings I need to do, and then choose a deck on the ship and walk all the way along, and then go up one and walk all the way along, and go up one and walk all the way along. You see where this is going. It not only helps you get your step count up on embarkation day, but it also helps you to figure out pretty quickly what you're going to want to do and see on that ship as the cruise progresses. There are some venues that I've just stumbled upon during one of my walk the ship sessions that I had no idea was there. So if you, like me, want to try and see every single part of a cruise ship when you're on your trip, then walk the ship might be for you. Number 11, go for a tour of the spa. This is a great way to see inside an area that during your cruise will be relatively locked down, because as soon as passengers go in there and start paying to relax or have treatments, you're not going to be allowed past reception, generally speaking. Now, on embarkation day, the spa will usually be open for guided tours, or you'll be able to just walk yourself around. Facilities like the treatment rooms, the thermal suite, the onboard gym. There are so many different things that you can go and just have a look at on embarkation day. That will allow you to see what is on the other side of that very exclusive door that takes you past reception, and it will also help you to decide whether or not you'd like to part with your hard-earned money to book, for example, a treatment, or to book into the thermal suite. My top tip is that if you're looking to make a spa booking for a day at sea, you must do that on embarkation day. The sea days are when the spa will be at its absolute busiest. That means that the thermal suite will have lots of people in there. The treatment rooms will be largely full on a sea day. So if you want to secure one of those slots, do that as soon as you can. Another thing to consider for facilities like the spa is using them during a day where the ship is in port. When the majority of passengers are off the ship exploring and doing their own thing on land, you'll often find that the onboard spa will be open, and it will provide some, in some cases, really impressive discounts to tempt you to stay on the ship and use the facilities. Okay, if you relax in the thermal suite during a port day, you're not going to have vast ocean views like you would on a day at sea. However, think about it. While on a sea day, you've got wide open views, you've also got so many other people in there to contend with. That means that things like heated loungers, sauna space, hot tub space will be at a premium, whereas on a port day, you might find that you and maybe one or two other people have got the whole place to yourselves. So yes, go for a tour of the spa and decide whether or not you want to book a treatment or a thermal suite pass or whatever it is you fancy doing, and make that booking as soon as you can. Number 12. I meet so many people who on embarkation day have no idea what's going on around the ship, and they assume that the entertainment and the activities begin on day 2. However, that's completely wrong. You need to look for your daily schedule, which you will have available in your cabin as soon as you board the ship. If it's not in your cabin, then it might be that you are sailing on a digital cruise ship, and therefore you'll find the daily schedule somewhere like in the mobile app. There are so many things that will be taking place around the ship on day 1. You might find tours of the ship, you might find introductions to the art gallery, you might find games in or around the swimming pool. There is so much that you might want to get involved in. Now, if you don't look at your daily schedule, then you're probably not going to know what's there. So make sure that you go to your cabin, get your daily schedule, and understand what's on so that you don't miss out. Number 13. Make any final calls to anyone at home, or send any final text messages, or update your social media for the final time before the ship leaves port. I've seen so many people frantically trying to send messages or make phone calls as the ship is leaving, well aware of the fact that in no time at all, your cell coverage is going to disappear, and therefore you'll be completely out of reach. Now, if you've bought a cruise ship Wi-Fi package, you can apply that as soon as you get on the ship, and then you don't have anything to worry about. But I always say, once you get on board, let those that care about you at home know that you're safely on the ship. Let them know when you'll next be in mobile or cell coverage, and then switch your phone off, or do this next thing. Number 14. And this is arguably one of the most important things that you must do on day 1 or on embarkation day of your cruise. The 14th thing that you must do is put your mobile or your cell phone into airplane mode. I have heard of so many people returning from a cruise to indescribably high bills as a result of not activating airplane mode, and then their mobile constantly refreshing emails, refreshing social media, so on and so forth, and they just did not realise how expensive the mobile networks out at sea are. The mobile networks you get at sea are designed for emergency use. They're not designed for me with my iPhone trying to update my Facebook status. That's just not what they're designed for. For that reason, they will charge you a lot of money to be online. They will charge you a lot of money to make even a very, very simple phone call. So the 14th thing that you must promise me you'll do on embarkation day is get your phone and put it into airplane mode. The 15th and final thing that you should plan to do on embarkation day or day one of your cruise is make sure you go outside to enjoy the sail away views as your ship is pulling out of port. That could mean that you enjoy sail away from your own private balcony, or it could mean you do what I do for the majority of my cruises, and that is head outside, take my camera, grab a cocktail, a mocktail, or maybe even a coffee, and just go for a walk around the ship and just soak it all in as you're leaving. Some sailaways are absolutely spectacular, and they're all just so different to each other. Even if you've sailed out of Miami 15 different times, I can almost guarantee you that you'll be passing different cruise ships, you'll be passing different people down on the shoreline, and there's just so much to see during any cruise ship sail away. So yes, number 15, get outside and enjoy sail away. And that's it. That's 15 things that I think you really should be planning to do on day one of your cruise. If you enjoyed this video today, then it would be great if, as I mentioned earlier, you would think about supporting my channel by clicking both the thumbs up and the subscribe buttons. And why not come and join me over in another video? Over in this video, we're staying on the topic of embarkation day, and I'm sharing with you 15 things that you really should pack into your carry-on luggage to make the embarkation process and to make day one as easy and as simple as possible. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll hopefully see you over there.